I never thought my life would unravel in the dim, oil-stained shadows of a garage. I'm Rachel, trapped in a marriage that feels like a house with peeling paint and creaking floors, where silence speaks louder than words. Every day with Ethan, my husband, is a heavy fog of unspoken tension, until a stranger named Caleb walked into my world, igniting a spark I didn't know I craved. What happened next was a wildfire of forbidden heat, a moment of escape that burned everything I knew to the ground. But as I stand amidst the ashes of my choices, a chilling truth flickers in the corner of my eye, a tiny red light that could destroy me. What did it capture? And who's watching on the other side? There's a certain stillness in the way the early morning light creeps through the cracked blinds of our bedroom window, painting jagged lines across the faded quilt on our bed. I'm Rachel, 22 years old, and this is the world I've built, or maybe the one I've stumbled into. I've been married to Ethan for just over a year now, a man 6 years my senior who carries the weight of 28 years in the lines on his face and the calluses on his hands. He's a mechanic, always tinkering, always fixing something that's broken, except maybe the quiet fractures between us. We live on the edge of a sleepy Ohio town, in a house that's seen better days, where the air hangs heavy with the scent of rust and gasoline, a constant reminder of the garage out back that's more his sanctuary than our home is. Ethan's not a man of many words. He's intense, though, in a way that's hard to pin down. His hands, rough from years of wrenching on engines, tell stories his mouth never does. And his eyes, God, those eyes, they're like storm clouds, always holding something back, some burden he won't share. I've learned to read the silences, the way they stretch out over dinner, broken only by the clink of forks against chipped plates. Most nights, he's out in the garage until the stars are high, leaving me alone with the hum of the old fridge and my own restless thoughts. I married him young, too young maybe, and now I'm caught between the vows I made and this gnawing feeling that I'm missing something vital, something I can't even name yet. Our little house isn't much to look at. The paint on the walls peels like old skin, curling at the edges in the living room where we barely sit together anymore. The wooden floors creak underfoot, groaning with every step as if they're tired of holding us up. There's a draft that sneaks in through the gaps in the window frames, whispering through the house on cold nights. And then there's the garage, Ethan's domain, a squat building out back cluttered with tools and oil stains, a place I rarely step into. It's his escape, his fortress, and I've always respected that boundary, even if it feels like a wall between us. I can hear him out there sometimes, the clatter of metal on metal, the low grunt of effort, and I wonder what he's really working on. Cars, or something deeper he won't let me touch. I work part-time at a diner a few miles down the road, slinging coffee and wiping down sticky counters for tips that I stash away in a jar under the sink. I'm saving for community college, for a chance to hit play on a life that feels stuck on pause. But every day I come home to the same quiet, the same heavy air, the same man who looks at me like he's searching for something I can't give. I'm loyal to Ethan. I am. It's a gray, chilly Saturday morning, the kind that wraps the world in a damp hush. I'm sitting at the kitchen table, cradling a chipped mug of bitter coffee, the steam curling up like faint ghosts in the dim light. Outside, a light drizzle taps against the window, a soft, relentless rhythm that matches the sluggish beat of my thoughts. Ethan's by the sink, wiping his hands on a grimy rag, his movements slow and deliberate. He doesn't look at me right away, just keeps his eyes on the rag, like it's holding some secret he's trying to scrub out. Then, out of nowhere, he speaks, his voice low, almost too casual. He says he needs help with a small project, cleaning out the old garage, just some boxes, rusty tools, and junk to haul away while he sets up these new security cameras he picked up on a whim. There's a tightness in his tone, a strain that makes me pause mid-sip, the coffee burning my tongue. I squint at him, trying to read past the storm clouds in his eyes, but I chalk it up to stress from the shop. He's been pulling long hours lately, coming home with grease under his nails and exhaustion in his shoulders. So I shrug it off, nod, and agree to help, even though the last thing I want is to spend my day in a cold, grimy space. I pull on an old hoodie, the fabric worn thin at the elbows, and lace up a pair of sneakers that have seen better days. The air outside nips at my skin as I trudge across the muddy backyard, the grass slick underfoot, the house looming behind me like it's watching me go. The garage sits detached, a squat, weathered thing that looks like it's been forgotten by time. I push open the side door, and the smell hits me first. Motor oil, sharp and metallic, mixed with the musty tang of mildew. It's heavy, clinging to the back of my throat as I step inside. The concrete floor is slick with dark, mysterious stains, patches that could be anything from spilled antifreeze to something I don't want to think about. A single fluorescent light flickers overhead, buzzing like a dying insect, casting long, jagged shadows over stacks of cardboard boxes, rusted tools, and tangled extension cords. The walls are lined with shelves sagging under the weight of old paint cans and jars of screws, everything coated in a fine layer of dust that dances in the faint light. It feels like stepping into a tomb, a place where things are left to decay, and I can't shake the sudden chill that crawls up my spine, even though I tell myself it's just the damp. I get to work, hauling boxes to a corner near the roll-up door, my arms straining under the weight of forgotten junk. Every move kicks up clouds of dust, and I'm sneezing within minutes, my nose itching as I swipe at it with the back of my hand. The garage feels so isolated. I'm standing in the middle of this grimy garage, surrounded by the weight of old junk and the sharp tang of oil, when I hear the side door creak open behind me. My hands are still wrapped around a dusty box, the cardboard rough against my palms, and I turn my head, expecting to see Ethan checking in. But it's not him. A stranger steps into the dim light, tall and imposing, dressed in black jeans and a black leather jacket that seems to absorb what little light there is. His face is half-shadowed, but I can make out the hard lines of it, the way the flickering fluorescent bulb catches on a faint scar above his left eyebrow. My heart stumbles for a second, caught off guard. As he steps closer, his boots heavy on the concrete floor. He introduces himself as Caleb, his voice deep and gravelly, like he's chewed on gravel for breakfast. He says Ethan sent him to help with the cleanup, and I just stand there, blinking, unsure why Ethan didn't mention this to me earlier. I nod slowly, my grip on the box tightening for a moment before I set it down, trying to shake off the unease prickling at the back of my neck. Caleb doesn't say much after that. He moves with a quiet intensity, like every step, every lift of a heavy crate, is calculated. His presence fills the small space, pressing against the walls, against me, in a way I can't quite explain. I steal glances at him as we work, taking in the sharp cut of his jawline, the way his dark eyes seem to linger on me just a beat too long, like he's sizing me up or seeing something I don't. That scar above his brow, it's thin but jagged, a story etched into his skin that I'll never know. His sleeves are rolled up, showing forearms corded with muscle, and I can't help but notice the way his hands move, steady and sure, as he shifts heavier items I wouldn't even attempt. We work side by side, the air between us growing thicker with every passing minute. Every time his arm brushes against mine while we maneuver a box, it's like a spark jumps between us, sharp and unexpected, and I feel my pulse quicken in a way that's both thrilling and wrong. The tension keeps building, a silent storm brewing in this cramped, dusty space. I'm bending down to lift a particularly heavy crate, my back straining under the weight, when I feel his hand rest on my shoulder. It's not a casual touch. It's deliberate, firm, sending a jolt through me that I can't ignore. My breath catches in my throat, and instead of pulling away, I freeze, rooted to the spot. There's a rush of something unfamiliar, a dangerous thrill that coils tight in my chest, spreading heat through my veins. Caleb doesn't ask if it's okay. He steps closer, his presence overwhelming, his hand sliding slowly down my arm, leaving a trail of fire in its wake. I don't stop him. I can't. It's like something inside me snaps, a dam breaking after being held back for too long. What happens next is quick, chaotic, a collision of need and recklessness against the cold, rough concrete wall of the garage. The smell of oil and dust mixes with the heat of the moment, and it's like I'm outside myself, watching this unfold, feeling the surge of adrenaline, the raw intensity of it all. It feels necessary, like a release I didn't even know I was starving for, a desperate escape from the quiet, heavy life I've been carrying. But then, mid-act, my eyes catch something in the corner of the garage, a tiny red light blinking steadily. The security camera, Ethan's new setup. My stomach drops like a stone, the realization crashing over me like icy water. He's watching, or he will see this later. The weight of that truth presses down on me, heavy and suffocating, but I don't pull back. I can't. It's like I'm caught in a current, dragged under by something I don't fully understand, something I can't fight even if I wanted to. The moment stretches, charged with guilt and something darker. The rain is coming down harder now as I make my way back to the house, my sneakers squelching in the mud with every step, each sound a reminder of the mess I've made. My heart is pounding so hard I can feel it in my throat, like it's trying to break free, to escape the weight of what just happened in that garage. Cold sweat trickles down the back of my neck, chilling my skin despite the damp warmth of the air, and my hands, they won't stop shaking. I clench them into fists, trying to steady myself, but it's no use. The memory of Caleb's touch, the reckless heat of that moment, burns in my mind, clashing with the icy dread of that blinking red light on the camera. Ethan's camera. I can't shake the feeling that I've crossed a line I can't come back from, a line I didn't even see until it was too late. Guilt gnaws at me, sharp and relentless, but there's something else too, a stubborn defiance, a part of me that refuses to crumble under the shame, that whispers I deserved that fleeting escape. I reach the front porch, my breath ragged, and grip the doorknob with trembling fingers. It's cold against my palm, grounding me for just a second before I push the door open. The house is eerily quiet, the kind of silence that feels like it's holding its breath, waiting for something to shatter it. I step inside, the familiar creak of the floorboards underfoot sounding louder than ever in the stillness. The kitchen is empty, just as I left it, my half-drunk coffee still sitting on the counter, the mug cold now, a faint ring of brown staining the inside. I stare at it for a moment, as if it could anchor me, as if it could rewind time to before everything unraveled. "Ethan?" I call out, my voice cracking on his name, raw with the weight of everything I'm carrying. There's no answer, just the echo of my own words bouncing off the peeling walls, swallowed by the quiet. I move further into the house, my pulse still racing, and that's when I see it. My suitcase and a duffel bag, packed tight and sitting by the front door like silent accusations. My stomach drops, a sick, sinking feeling that steals the air from my lungs. I know what this means before my mind can even form the words. He knows. Somehow, he knows. My legs feel weak, but I force myself to stand there, staring at the bags as if they might disappear if I blink hard enough. Then I hear the faint sound of footsteps, slow and deliberate, coming from the hallway. I turn, and there he is, Ethan, emerging from the shadows, his face unreadable, a mask of stone. In one hand, he holds the house keys, the metal glinting dully in the dim light, and his eyes, they burn with something I can't name. Is it anger, hurt, or something darker? Something that makes my skin crawl? I open my mouth to speak, to say something, anything. But the words stick in my throat, heavy and useless. "Ethan, I start, my voice trembling as I fumble for an explanation, stammering about Caleb, about how it just happened, how I didn't mean for it to go that far. I'm grasping at straws, trying to piece together a defense for something I can't even justify to myself. But before I can get far, he cuts me off with a sharp gesture, his hand slicing through the air like a blade, silencing me. He doesn't say a word, just points toward the window with a jerky motion, his jaw tight. I follow his gaze, my breath catching as I see it through the rain-streaked glass. Caleb's car, that beat-up black sedan, parked across the street, its dark shape looming like a bad omen in the gray drizzle. Ethan moves past me, his shoulder brushing against mine, the contact brief but loaded with a tension that makes me flinch. He doesn't look at me, doesn't acknowledge me at all as he steps outside into the rain, the door swinging shut behind him. I stand frozen on the porch, the rain pelting down, soaking through my hoodie until it clings to my skin like a second layer of guilt. My breath catches in sharp, shallow gasps as I watch the fire devour Caleb's black sedan across the street. The flames roar with a ferocity that seems almost personal, licking at the metal frame, turning it into a twisted, glowing skeleton. Black smoke billows upward, thick and suffocating, curling into the gray sky like a dark, angry spirit. The heat from the blaze reaches me even from here, a searing warmth that prickles across my face, making my cheeks flush despite the cold rain. I can hear the crackling of the metal, sharp pops and groans as the car's body warps under the inferno's grip, a sound that echoes in my chest like a warning I ignored too long. I glance at Ethan, standing a few feet away, his silhouette rigid against the flickering orange light. The fire reflects in his eyes, turning them into something wild, something feral, like he's not just watching destruction but channeling it. There's a raw, untamed energy there, a storm I've never seen before, and it sends a shiver down my spine that has nothing to do with the damp. Neighbors start to peek out from behind curtains, their faces pale and curious in the windows, but no one dares to step outside. No one wants to get close to this kind of chaos, this kind of pain made visible. I can't blame them. I'm rooted here myself, unable to move, unable to look away from the wreckage of everything I thought I knew. Ethan turns to me then, his face half shadowed by the firelight, rain streaming down his jaw like tears he'll never shed. His voice is low, steady, cutting through the roar of the flames and the patter of the storm. "You're not my wife anymore." The words hit me like a physical blow, sharper than I ever expected, slicing through the mess of emotions already churning inside me. It's not just a statement. It's a severance, a final cut to whatever fragile thread was still holding us together. My chest tightens, a hollow ache spreading through me, and for a moment, I can't breathe. I want to say something, to reach out, to undo the damage, but my tongue feels heavy, useless, and my hands stay clenched at my sides. He doesn't wait for a response. He doesn't need one. Instead, he pulls the house keys from his pocket, the metal glinting briefly as he tosses them into the muddy grass at my feet. They land with a dull thud, a small, insignificant sound against the chaos around us, but it feels like the end of everything. Ethan doesn't look at me again. He turns, walks to his truck parked a few yards away, climbs in with a deliberate slowness that feels like a final goodbye. The engine rumbles to life, and he drives off, the taillights fading into the rain, swallowed by the gray haze until there's nothing left of him but the echo of his absence. I'm alone now, standing on this porch, the fire still raging across the street, the heat still pressing against my skin, and I don't know how to move forward from this. Sirens wail in the distance, a piercing sound that cuts through the storm, growing louder with every passing second. Someone must have called the cops, and I know they'll be here soon, their flashing lights a judgment I'm not ready to face. My eyes drift back to the burning car, the flames starting to lose their ferocity, though the smoke still chokes the air. I can't help but think of the garage, of that moment with Caleb, the raw, reckless heat of it all against the cold concrete. Part of me clings to that memory, revels in it, in the way it felt like I was finally alive, finally free for just a fleeting second. It was a desperate grasp at something I couldn't name, a release from the weight of a life that felt like it was crushing me. But another part of me, the part staring at the empty spot where Ethan's truck disappeared, aches with a loss I didn't expect. The sirens grow louder, a shrill cry slicing through the damp air, until red and blue lights flash across the street, painting the charred husk of what used to be Caleb's car in eerie, pulsing colors. I'm still on the porch, soaked to the bone, my hoodie heavy with rain, when the police pull up. 2 officers step out, their boots crunching on the wet gravel, their faces stern under the brims of their hats. They approach me with clipped professional tones, asking questions about the fire, how it started, if I saw anything, if I knew whose car it was. I'm numb, my voice flat and hollow as I give them short, clipped answers. I tell them I don't know much, that I just saw the flames from here, that I have no idea where the owner of the car might be. And I don't. Caleb vanished after our encounter in the garage, and honestly, I don't care to find out where he went. My mind is elsewhere, tangled in the wreckage of my own choices. As I watch a tow truck arrive, its chains clanking as it hooks onto the blackened remains of the sedan and drags it away, leaving nothing but scorched asphalt and the lingering smell of burnt metal behind. The officers eventually nod, satisfied enough with my vague responses, and tell me I can stay in the house for the night. They'll be in touch if they need more, they say, but their words barely register. I shuffle back inside, the door creaking shut behind me, sealing me into a space that no longer feels like mine. The house is a shell now, stripped of any warmth it might have once held. I wander into the kitchen, my eyes catching on the empty counter where Ethan's tools used to sit, scattered in their usual organized chaos. They're gone. So is his jacket, the worn leather one that always hung on the hook by the door, a silent marker of his presence. Its absence hits me harder than I expect, a small, sharp pain in my chest, like a splinter I can't pull out. I move to the living room, my footsteps echoing in the stillness, and sink onto the couch, my gaze falling on the packed bags by the door, my suitcase and duffel, waiting like sentinels of a life I've already lost. I sit there for what feels like hours, staring at those bags, my mind replaying that moment in the garage over and over, the cold concrete against my back, the heat of Caleb's nearness, the way everything spiraled into a raw, untamed release, a moment where I felt something other than the suffocating monotony of my days. I don't regret it. I can't. It was like breaking free, even if just for a fleeting second, from the weight of a life that had started to feel like a cage. It was a taste of something wild, something I hadn't known I was starving for until it consumed me. But the cost? God, the cost. Ethan is gone, his final words still ringing in my ears, cutting deeper with every replay. My marriage, whatever fragile thing it was, is over, reduced to ash just like that car outside. I have no family nearby to turn to, no safety net to catch me as I fall. I'm utterly, achingly alone, and the realization presses down on me, heavy as the silence that fills this house. The quiet is suffocating, a thick, oppressive thing that seems to seep into the walls, into my bones. I can't stay here, not in this house that feels so empty and cold without Ethan. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.